also a learning leader at Paulitchell School Tampa. So all that means is that I live, breathe, eat, and sleep Paulitchell every day.
She was my teacher.
Yes, I was. Oh my gosh. I've been at this school for 15 years, so I've seen a lot of future professionals come in and out, and it really warms my heart to see the success that they grow to. Prime example right here with Christy, that Paulitchell School and our Paulitchell community advises us to have this amazing success. So really all I'm here to do today is to share with you some things that make me successful as a stylist in the salon. I've worked very hard at it. I'm a 6-figure salon stylist working only 2 days a week. So it's an amazing system that we can use, amazing tools that Paulitchell gives us to be able to get there. And I'm just going to share some things that make me successful and ways that we do it at iStyle and that I've seen other salons do that make life really easy for us in the salon and make amazing experiences for our guests. The 20 for 20 collection I'm really excited about because the inspiration for this collection for the color was a trend that we're seeing in our industry right now, and I'm sure you guys are seeing it in your salon, is that we have our guests that have traditionally been in a very natural color story, right? So they stay in the very natural range and they're wanting little pops of unnatural colors. So little pops of fashion colors, little peekaboos of something coming through, or a color craft toner that they can take home that just shifts their color slightly. So you'll notice in all of the colors for the collection, it's those little peekaboos of unnatural colors filtering through the natural. And that's really feeding a trend that we're seeing in our industry right now. With the cuts, it's really just about very quick and easy cuts that are super adaptable to every guest. So in the past, we've seen collections that are very strong structured haircuts, and we do have strong structure in these, but what we're gonna do today is focus on the adaptability of them. So even when we're doing classes for this collection, you'll notice that we're focusing more on live models versus mannequin heads so that we're using our real life situation to help us understand those adaptations and where we can go with the cuts and the color services. All right. So we're gonna do the Aurora haircut on Christy today. If you guys have your phones out, I'm gonna airdrop to you the diagram. So turn your airdrop on, and I already texted it to you.
Oh, we don't have airdrop.
I'm just going to start selecting people that I see. And set. Okay, I think I got everyone.
Tara.
Oh, yeah. Turn yours on. I've got everybody that's on here, but maybe one more.
Just turn your phone on. It'll automatically pick it up.
Yep.
Sounds your Bluetooth. You might have to put it on to everybody.
So while we're doing that, the Aurora haircut, it was done by Jason Reyes, international trainer for John Paulitchell Systems, and the color was done by Colin Caruso, our artistic director of color. The color story was really interesting. Colin went in, our model, she was already in a blonde life, right? But so what Colin did is he went in and he hand painted with skylight, and he just brightened areas. So brought the blonde up in areas, brightened some of the ends, so that he could have a nice canvas for putting on different pastel formulas. So we have a little mint green in there, we have a little pink in there, a little bit of a blue feel in there, but it's all hiding underneath that blonde canvas. So even when you see in the video, her flipping her hair back and forth around, it's just when she's flipping it that you see those little pops of color. And it's through the haircut that allows those pops of color to come through as well. Okay, I got Steve's phone. Everybody else get theirs? If not, you can just share it with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Perfect. And everything I'm showing you today as well is on the Paulitchell Pro website. Are you guys all registered on Paulitchell Pro? Yes. Yes? Okay. So the sizzle video I just showed you and the videos of all of the collection cuts and colors and the head sheets, they're all on, oh thank you. They're all on Paulitchell Pro, so you can check that out at any time. And I love the videos. They're very quick, short videos, so you're going to see a haircut in about 5 to 7 minutes. And which to me is very salon reality, because sometimes we have to cut a head of hair in 5 to 7 minutes. Our next guest is here and we got to keep going, right? So I did do a consultation with Christy before we got started and asked her, the very traditional questions of, when's the last time you got your hair cut? And her answer was in the bathroom a couple of weeks ago. She did a little something on herself, which means Christy needs some love, right? And this is a very traditional situation for our guests as well. They're busy moms, busy working, and they don't always have the opportunity to come in as often as they like. So just a simple question of that helps me to determine, how long it's been since they've had a haircut, how much it's grown, how much of that shape have we lost since our previous haircut. Because a lot of times our guests say, I like my shape that I had, but I feel like it's just going away. Well, yeah, it's going to go away in about 6 weeks. So that shape needs to be refreshed about every 6 weeks. So Christy's hair also has a lot of density. So the Aurora haircut's going to be really awesome for her because it's going to help release a lot of that weight in her hair. And just looking how she had it styled when she came in today, she had her big loose waves. And so one of the questions I asked her as well was, when you release weight in your hair, does your wave become accentuated or does it relax? So depending on the texture of our guest's hair is going to depend on how that wave reacts to it. So I always like to ask those questions because it depends on their texture. And I'm also thinking about Christy's lifestyle. She's not a new mom, but she has a new baby, 2 months old, and he's just so stinking cute. But so she needs something easily maintainable. So if I do a lot of shorter layers in there, it might not be as daily maintainable for her, right? So I want to keep it to a length and a design that's going to be easy for her to work with, whatever her day may bring to her. So whether it's a ponytail or a cute braid or actually blowing it out and doing a nice style on it, it's got to be maintainable for her throughout. So all I did was run a little bit of Avapui Wild Ginger styling treatment oil through her hair. I like to have a cutting agent in the hair before I start my sectioning and cutting. It helps keep clean sectioning, it helps the hair stay hydrated, and just makes life a little bit easier for us. So have you guys had an experience with the Aurora haircut yet? Did you guys take that class when you were in Vegas?
No.
Not yet. Okay, awesome. So it's a long layered haircut that's very adaptable to every guest, right? So this could be done in a shorter length, it can be done in a longer length. So we're gonna go through all of those adaptations and how they work. But starting off with our sectioning, the first section that Jason takes is from the recession back to the mid-crown. So of course every guest head shape is going to be a little bit different. I also, with this section, I like to think about how much weight do I need to release. So I'm going to be releasing the most weight from this interior parietal area. So if I need to release a lot of weight, my top triangle section is going to be a little skinnier. If I need to maintain a little more weight, so for example, if her texture is a little bit skinnier, then my top triangle section is going to be a little wider. So that's the first adaptation that I may take creative freedom in when I'm sectioning out the haircut. So pre-planning that sectioning and making sure that it sets me up for the end result. I know that we all like to do dry cutting and refinement at the end of the haircut, but I also like to make my life really easy and time efficient in the salon. So I'm always going to personalize the haircut somewhat in the dry relationship, but I want to create the best possible shape in the wet cut first, because that's what is going to really be the strength in the longevity of her haircut. So if I know Christy has a hard time getting into the salon as frequently as she would like, then I know I need to do most of my cutting in the wet relationship, because that's going to be the strength and the shape of it. So my next section, or segments I'm going to section off, I'm going to do a center panel straight down the center back, and then I'm going to create triangles from just the inside of the recession to approximately the low occipital. And again, this is where my adaptations may come in. If I look at Christy's hair and I see that her front hairline here is a bit skinnier in texture, I'm going to shift that point of the triangle back a little bit farther, because I'm going to be layering and removing most weight from these interior triangle sections. Now if I notice that this is nice and thick and dense, then I can shift that triangle forward slightly. And that goes for the entire perimeter area here. So especially right here at that mastoid area where we have the highest area of the hairline, that's where I want to make sure that whatever I leave here, I need to look at the density that I leave, because that's what's going to stay. So if she has a skinnier fabric, I'm going to shift this triangle up higher to leave more perimeter weight. If she has a thicker, denser fabric, I can shift that triangle down a little bit lower. So knowing where we're going with the haircut, I like the point here, but I'm going to drop it down even a bit lower towards the back because she does have so much hair. Just clean that section up. Okay, so talk to me, my friends, about layered haircuts. How are you feeling about your layered haircuts? Repetitive. Same thing every day. Lift it up, cut it, right? Okay. How are you feeling about the results of your long layered haircuts? Do you have any challenges? Does something happen each time that you're like, I'd love for that to not happen? What do you guys think?
I feel like everything from parietal back with the layers always looks really awesome, but parietal forward, I feel like I have to do a lot of extra face framing to get that really nice layered wispy look in the front.
And is that because when you're doing the wet relationship, you're not doing as much in the wet relationship?
I think so, because I'm thinking about my time, and I'm like, I can just catch this up when I get her finished and styled and do my refinement.
All right. So that's a very good point. So addressing that front area, that front area, that's what they see the most of. And I do find that when we're layering hair, we end up focusing more in the back because that's where the majority of the hair is, but then that's not the part that they see, right? So it's kind of backwards, a little oxymoronish there in the way that we see the haircut. One of the things that I learned from one of my favorite haircutters as well, DJ Muldoon, I had the privilege of taking his hands-on class at Premiere this past year, and he pointed something out to me that I was like, oh my God, you are brilliant. I just never thought of it. So when we're looking at the distribution of weight within the head shape, if you go from the center crown area, center crown to front hairline, and center crown to nape is the exact same distance. So it's the exact same amount of head shape, right? And I never really thought about that. We always usually look at the apex as that distribution point that everything falls from, right? But if we're looking at distribution of weight within a haircut and weight within a shape, we generally have the exact same amount of hair from center crown to nape and center crown to front hairline. It's the same density. So if we look at it from there and think about from a halo perspective, if we go from occipital up to frontal, that's generally the same portion of hair than what we would leave in the underneath. So if we think of it from a density perspective and distribution of weight, just shift your focus a little bit from the apex back to the center crown. And that will also help you. So for example, now when I'm doing my one lengths or I'm putting my outline into a haircut, instead of doing a center or natural part, dropping it down and going from front to back or back to front, I'm actually taking a veil section off of the top, a halo section of balance, so that I'm leaving out in my perimeter the same amount of hair in the front as I have in the back to then stand in my perimeter. Regardless of the overall shape, whether it's square, triangular, or round, I'm creating equal density in my perimeter from front to back by doing that. And that really changed the game for me in that front layering area, because then now I know once I have this area cut out and I have my perimeter stamped in, it's just this veil that I'm really layering, right? So this veil in the front, there's very little. So Cheyenne, where you said you're focusing on that more in the dry relationship, your mind is really in the right way, because you've already created that perimeter. They usually have some face framing going on already for us to focus on in the dry relationship. But if we look at it as part of distribution of weight, your mind is in the right way. So we really just have a tiny little veil in the front that needs to be layered. And you're gonna see that with the haircut we're doing today as well. All right, so in this haircut, I really like the way that Jason approached it, where he did not put a perimeter in at first. So he goes in and he does his interior layering on these 2 triangles first, and then he stamps in his perimeter. So we're gonna get started on that. So we're gonna start in the back triangular section, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift my clip to protect my perimeter. So I've already taken out a perimeter section that I know I need for protection, and then now I'm going to start my haircut. Just see, I think this is all the way down. That's much better. I'm not that tall, and Christy is tall. Okay, so focusing on our sectioning, and I'm going to shift my body position. Okay, everybody can see there, right? So I am a huge fan of fingertips being at the start of my section, so I always shift my body position for that. Now the first section, it's going to be a vertical section, and we just need to lift it above 90. How far above 90 is your choice, and depending on how much interior weight we want to remove. This top section is going to veil over. So your shortest layers are actually going to be at the fingertips at the top of this triangular section, and the top is going to veil over with some length. So it's really how much weight do I want to remove from this interior area. And knowing that it's been a while since Christy had a strong haircut, we're going to give her some really nice strength in her haircut, but not necessarily taking a whole lot of weight out. Don't be afraid? Okay, thanks for your permission. I appreciate it. She's like, girl, go for it. And I am going to point cut this out because number one, I like to honor our artists. So Jason does the entire haircut with a point cutting method. Our model for the Aurora haircut, she had really thick, dense hair as well, and she had not had a haircut in quite some time. So now I'm going to shift. My second section is going to be over directed to my first. Now, depending on where you want the shape of the haircut to go, you could maintain a stationary guide here if you wanted it to shift to be slightly triangular, or you could have a traveling guide to maintain more of a 90-degree shape around the head. All right, and then take my next section. So we've completed that. So you can see now where I'm at, my haircut is disconnected at this point from the perimeter. And that's okay, because we're going to go in and we are going to shift the perimeter into the layers so that we can have a connection. Just because I don't have a mirror, let's clean that up a little. There we go. So really focusing on maintaining the same elevation throughout. So a little trick is when you see your guide, if your guide is a little bit fuzzy, that usually means that something is inconsistent from where you started. So if your guide looks fuzzy, it's either your elevation is shifted, or your over direction has shifted, or your body position. So one of the factors that affect the haircut have shifted when we see a fuzzy guide. When it's nice and clean and perfect, that means that you are keeping a consistent haircut from beginning to end. All right, so what else do you guys see in your layered haircuts that you would like to improve upon?
I think you kind of touched on one of my goals when creating a haircut. A layered haircut is that strong perimeter, and so I like that you're dropping that out completely and moving it out. I sometimes struggle with based on parting or doing. I always want to blend it. Like I never disconnect completely.
Is that because you're nervous too?
I feel that when I try to do a disconnect sometimes, or an undercut, it ends up bulking out or not laying right.
Not achieving the goal that you were set out to do. Okay, I understand that. So when it comes to disconnecting, there's definitely a rhyme and reason behind it, for sure. So right now I'm disconnecting Christy's layers because I need to remove some interior weight. She has so much density in her hair that we can remove a good amount of weight from her hair. And you can see, especially towards the top of the section, which is at that parietal area, that's where I'm removing the most weight right now. And that's where now, as you see, we have a very nice light moving layer. And even though it's disconnected from the perimeter, there is still a connection, right? And we're gonna lift that up in a moment, and we are gonna still connect it completely. So now I'm gonna shift to my other side. So when Scott Cole used to do a lot of disconnected haircuts, right? He even has a collection of haircuts called the Disco 1, the Disco 2, the Disco 3, and I'm sure that Steve and Christy have those videos for you to watch. And he's absolutely amazing. So again, I'm gonna add that clip there for protection. And I'm taking a small section of my previously cut panel as my guide and bringing it over to the other side. Now I'm gonna stay in the same body position here because I want my hand position to stay the same. So now I just have to, in my mind, have control of my push and pull with the section so that I maintain the same elevation and over direction as I did on the opposite side. So this is when your mirror comes in really handy, and right now you guys are my mirror, so that I maintain the same elevation and over direction so I have the same haircut shape on both sides. So now I'm pushing that section away from me, whereas on the opposite side I was pulling it towards myself. And that's the only shift in my hand position now. So when you watch Scott Cole do his disconnected haircuts, you'll notice he uses a lot of elevation to blend his disconnection. So the higher you elevate a section away from the area that you're disconnecting it, okay, so if I were to lift this up even higher, even though it's disconnected, it will fall softer. So the higher you lift the hair away from the disconnected area, the softer the connection will be. So if I were to bring this section straight out here and cut it more squared off, you're gonna notice a big disconnection. However, when I lift it all the way straight up, even if I were to shift into concave, then that area that meets the disconnection is gonna fall softer. So if you have in your mind, how much disconnection do I wanna see? You know, because a lot of times we're doing it in a layered situation because we need to maintain length but reduce weight, right? So our guest comes in and she says, I want something different, but I don't want to cut my length, right? Classic statement from our guest. And we're always in our mind like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Just shave one side of your head? I'm not sure. So this technique of just anticipating how far the disconnection is going to be or how soft the disconnection is going to be based on your elevation in which you hold the hair. So if you have that in mind, you're going to always be led in the right direction. So again, I'm pushing that section away from myself because I want to maintain the same hand position. Now with Christy's hair, because it is so dense, I'm choosing a bit of a higher elevation. I'm going pretty high in my elevation, but I do want to connect her perimeter in with her layers at the end. If she had a skinnier fabric, then I would be dropping down more towards the 90-degree elevation. So if her hair was a bit skinnier, I would more be coming straight out about here, and if it was really skinny, I would come more straight out at 90. So depending on her density is how high I'm going to lift that section.
And you would lower the elevation to remove less weight.
Correct, absolutely. So you can see that as I'm elevating this hair up, I'm removing more from the interior of the section, so the area that lives closer to the parietal, and I'm removing less length from the bottom of this section, which is closer to the occipital. And that's because of my higher elevation. So I'm pulling farther away from where I want to have length. So I want length at her perimeter, so I'm pulling farther away from it. And that's how we know what we're gonna take, what we're gonna maintain, and what we're gonna take off. So when you're thinking of length and how much length your guest wants to remove, in relation to over direction, the farther you pull something away from where it's gonna live, the longer it's gonna be. So the farther I over direct something from where it's gonna live, the more length it's gonna have. The closer I bring it to where it's naturally gonna live, the less length I'm gonna have. So pull away from what you wanna maintain. Okay. So in this haircut, before we even started, who was it that prepped Christy for us? Tara. Tara? Okay, so Tara, you had Christy in the wash house. What shampoo and conditioner did you use for Christy?
I used shampoo free first, and then I used
Awapui?
Awapui.
Uh-huh.
And then I used the detangler.
And you used the original Awapui shampoo, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you guys think we started with shampoo free? What was the purpose?
To cleanse your hair.
Yeah, to clarify her hair. So if our guest doesn't wash every day, then I'm always going to be doing a double wash on them, especially in the salon. You know, when our guests come into the salon, they are so excited to be able to leave and not have to do their hair for a few days. So the cleaner we can get our guest's hair, the longer their wash and style is going to last for them. And I do find that nowadays, even because of the advancement and excitement of dry shampoo in our world, our guests are washing their hair less and less, right? So if we have that opportunity here in the salon to give them a really deep clarifying shampoo, I'm going to take that opportunity for them. You comfy? Okay, if you need to shift or adjust, you just let me know. So we took that opportunity with Christy so that she could get a nice squeaky clean feeling and have a lot of longevity before her next wash. So we started with shampoo free for clarifying, and then we used Awapui original shampoo. So one of my favorite things about Awapui original shampoo is that it's moisture balancing, meaning it's going to give us a good clarifying at the scalp area, and then it's going to balance moisture on the mid-lengths and ends. So if your guest is like, oh, my hair, you know, it's always oily at the base and dry at the ends, original Awapui shampoo is a miracle shampoo for that. And then of course it has our original Awapui extract, so it's really moisture balancing in the hair. So this section here, so now I'm gonna isolate the back, so I isolated it from the mastoid, and I'm gonna elevate it straight up. And hang on, we got lots of hair to comb into place. And this is where I'm going to connect my perimeter to my layers. So I'm elevating everything straight up. And then we can see where our ends would be connected. And I'm just going to come through and point that together. One more good comb. Now, if she had a really skinny fabric, I may choose to adjust my elevation here. So if Christy had a skinnier fabric, I may pull it more out at a lower elevation, and you can see now if I were to do that, I would connect more, right? We can always go in with a 0 degree elevation and connect, but this is a great way to add a softer connection at the perimeter, so not so much of a hard perimeter. I am going to drop my elevation slightly just to give it a touch more connection. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So the next thing would be for Christy to have her color lift up. Who's going to take care of her for that?
I told her I would.
I know, it's hard. Life is hard. So just making sure I have a nice, smooth combing before I start that connection. And then the perimeter in the front, we're going to do that in the dry relationship. But we can see now, from the layering that we created on the interior, it has a soft fall into our perimeter. And if we want to strengthen the perimeter and the dry relationship, we can. We'll just see where that goes when it comes to the dry relationship of the haircut. So now we're gonna shift to the front of the haircut. Hold on, I'm gonna turn it this way. This will be the best. Yes, okay. So the top section, this is where you have another option in artistic freedom. So most of our guests will probably already have a little bit of layering or some face framing in that area. The sectioning for this is we're going to start in the center, and it's going to be more of pie-shaped sections. So we're going to start from the center crown to the front hairline. Smooth this out. So in this area, we're going to cut from long towards the back to short in the front. So we're going to create our face framing in the original haircut. And you can do one of two things. If you like more of a connection in your layering, you can use the guide at the crown that we just cut as your guide for the top. If you like to have a little overlay, then you can go slightly disconnected from it. So if our guest has a skinnier texture and we need to add some lift and movement to that crown area, we'll do an overlay, because then this shorter layer underneath is going to push the longer layer on top. So remember, in hair cutting, always short pushes long. So where you want long to have lift, you're going to create some short underneath it, so having a slight disconnection as well. So we're going to over direct this section straight up, but then shift our fingers to go forward. So we're gonna have a slight disconnection. And I see Christy's previous front hairline, and we're just gonna clean that up a bit with this. But tilting my fingers forward so that we're cutting short to long. And then now from that section, every subsequent section is gonna be over directed into the center. So we're getting longer as we come out towards the perimeter of that section. So the layers on the top here are also going to be disconnected from the sides, but by over directing it away from it, we're going to have a softer connection of the disconnection. Over directing that last section at the parietal all the way over to the center.
Is it a stationary guide?
It is a stationary guide, yes. So at the center top, we're creating a stationary. Now, if you wanted a little bit less disconnection, you could use the guide from the crown, and then I would use more of a traveling guide, because then you would have a really strong connection of your layers. But when we have such thick, dense hair, we can have a disconnection, but it still falls very soft. Alright, so now I'm going to section out my center again. And I'm going to maintain my same body position here because I want my same hand position. I want to be cutting shorter at my fingertips towards longer at the interior. So now again, I just have to have control of my push and pull. So I have to push towards the center away from me now. All right, and then the last product that we used in the wash house was, which conditioner did we use? A detangler. So originally I had recommended that we use Avapui Wild Ginger Mirror Smooth, but Christy's scalp does not like Avapui Wild Ginger for some reason. So I switched to the detangler. And to be honest, if there's not any specific challenges within my guest hair, for example, if I don't have to address, a moisture challenge or a texture challenge, the detangler is my best friend. So I use the detangler in the wash house on a very large portion of my guests, and it's because it leaves the hair so silky smooth and soft because of the beta carotene that's in it. It has carrot extract, and what that does is it smooths out the texture of the hair. It also has a really low pH, so if we've done any type of chemical service, whether it's a perm, a relaxer, a blonding service, the detangler is a great way, it's a great last and final product to use in the wash house because it helps seal down the cuticle and normalize the pH of the hair before they go home. So just to make sure that our color locks in, that our relaxer and perm services, that we've spiked the pH and now we want to bring it back down, it's the perfect product for that.
It's my favorite conditioner.
Is your favorite?
I use it on about 80 to 90% of my guests as well.
And I'm telling you, I love to sell our luxury products to our guests because I do believe they're the best on the market. And at iStyle, where I work, our luxury brand products we focus on. So we don't have a lot of the original Paulitchell brand in our salon. We focus on Tea Tree, Avocado Wild Ginger, Marula, Invisible Wear. Those are the brands that we focus on at iStyle. But to be honest, the Detangler and Shampoo One are two of our hottest sellers. So we keep Shampoo One in the Detangler and Avocado Original Shampoo because it just is magic on the hair. All right, so we have our finished haircut for now. So I'm gonna prep Christy's hair. She did say that the styling products from Avocado Wild Ginger she loves. So with her texture, I feel like she could use the Hydro Mist Blowout Spray. So this is a style amplifier, and that's not to say that her hair needs amplification. However, it's a really lightweight feeling product that gives you a lot of control. So whereas someone that wants to extend the life of their blowout, Hydro Mist Blowout Spray is a really awesome product because it's so lightweight feeling. However, it does help lock in color, it does have the avocado extract in it to smooth and polish the hair, but it gives us that control without an overweighted feeling. Have you guys tried the new Avocado Wild Ginger products? Yes. Okay, so
I haven't even seen that.
have you even seen them? I have them here. All right, so first we're gonna start blow drying. So we're just gonna do a flat wrap blow dry for Christy.
Christy, the no blowout would probably be really good for you when you braid your hair.
Yes.
The what?
The no blowout spray.
It's like a
So-
cream.
So the no blow dry cream, and I have used it on myself personally. The first day I got it in the mail from Paulitchell, it was not a day through my wash cycle, but I'm sorry.
I was telling them there's another seat in here.
Oh, okay, yeah, if someone wants to come in, you can come right on in.
Do you want me to sweep for you?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to sweep for you?
But so the no blow dry cream is pretty amazing. So I washed my hair, put it in my hair, and I let it dry naturally. Now I am someone that does not dry very pretty naturally. So my hair gets frizzy and poofy. It's not curly by any means, but it just gets really frizzy and poofy. So what I noticed from the no blow dry cream is that on my own personal hair, it smoothed my mids to ends, so they weren't as expanded once they dried. Another thing I noticed is that we say with our no blow dry cream that you are going to notice your hair drying 2 times faster. So it really did. Like I put it in, and within an hour my hair was completely dry naturally. Whereas normally, if I let my hair dry naturally, it's like 3 hours before it's dry, especially on the interior. So I did notice that claim of 2 times faster drying was amazing. Now one thing I will say though is when we're talking about the no blow dry cream from Avocado Wild Ginger, the reason we created that product is because last year 4 of the top 10 professional products sold from any company were no blow dry creams, and they were from other manufacturers. So it's obvious that our guests and the market is demanding that type of product, right? So I will tell you though, is make sure when you're talking with smooth and polish it. It's gonna hydrate it because it does have the avapui extract in it, but it's not gonna take the place of a smooth blow dry. And I do let them know it's great for if you like to let your hair dry naturally because it's too much hair to blow dry, right? So especially for our hair extension wearers or our guests with long, thick hair, they can put that cream in, let their hair dry naturally, and then just touch it up with an iron or with a round brush and blow dryer. It's great for that. Then we have our dry shampoo foam. Has anybody tried that? Yes? Okay, so it's the little bottle right next to you. I want you to pass that around so everybody can feel it. Just spray about a golf ball, about a golf ball size amount in your hand. And then I like to just like take a little, put it on the part, make a section, put it on my parting. That stuff, it immediately dries into your hair without changing your style. So even for our curly haired guests that blow dry their hair straight, it's not going to reactivate the curl. It is so amazing and it smells fantastic. So we have guests that love dry shampoo and we have guests that love the feeling of a fresh wash, right? And I do feel that a lot of times our guests wait too long to use their dry shampoo. So, you know, they wait until it's like, ooh, I absolutely need a wash right now, and that's when they use the dry shampoo. So I coach my guests to use their dry shampoo and now their dry foam as preventative maintenance. So I'm going to recommend to Christy that tonight, before she goes to bed, that she puts dry shampoo in her hair. Because number one, we're usually sweating when we sleep, right? Especially if we have a lot of hair. So I'm going to recommend that you put dry shampoo in your hair tonight before you go to bed. So we use it as preventative maintenance instead of waiting until it gets to the point where like, oh my god, I'm so greasy and I need to wash my hair. I don't feel like it, so I'm just going to put dry shampoo in, right? I also like to recommend that if you are using dry shampoo, that you use dry conditioner. So our Neon brand has a dry condition. Have you guys tried that product? Holy crap, it's amazing. So number one, it has that beautiful pomegranate fragrance from Neon, but it's just, I say anytime you use dry shampoo, you should be using dry condition. Because if we're not shampooing our hair, we're also not conditioning it, meaning it's not getting the love and treatment of a conditioner. So if we are using a dry shampoo, we should be doing dry condition. And I always tell my guests to use it at the end of the night before they go to bed. So it should be part of like their skincare routine. It's part of your going to bed routine. Brush through your hair, put dry shampoo on your scalp, and dry condition on your ends. When you wake up in the morning, it's as if you had a fresh wash. Your hair feels exactly like it did the day before without you feeling like you need to wash it. So not only do we want to coach our guests to use these products, but we do need to coach them how to use them properly because they may not have that in their mind, right? Alright, so we have that, and then we have our new hairspray. So it's a medium hold. You want to pass that one around too? So I think one of the products that we were missing from our Avapui Wild Ginger brand was a hairspray that had a more flexible hold to it, right? So our Avapui Wild Ginger firm finishing spray, that has a really firm hold. It's a very damp aerosol spray. So when we look at aerosol sprays and how we use them, you want to look at what they do when you spray them out of the can. So if they spray out and they evaporate up, then it's a very dry feeling, more of a working spray aerosol. But if we spray them out and you see the product settle, you see it fall, then it's more of a damp spray and that's more of a firm hold spray. So depending on what you're working with. So for example, if we're doing long hair designs, you guys do a lot of weddings, special events here? Okay. Especially though in the summer when we have so much humidity, we need a firmer hold spray. So I do coach my guests to use firmer hold sprays in the winter and more flexible hold sprays in the fall and in the, firmer hold sprays in the summer and then our more flexible hold sprays in the fall and winter. It's a great way to open up new take-home opportunities because our guests, they buy so much from us, but at a certain point they're like, I their stock of product underneath their bathroom sink. So by recommending different types of products for different seasons, it gives us an opportunity to sell more take home, to recommend the right products for the season for them as well. Just like they change their wardrobe with the seasons, we have to change our hair products with the season. Alright, so I want to hear some of your ahas about the haircut so far. Or about anything
I
you
like
talked about.
how you were talking about the top section, because I feel like that's something I have a problem with a lot, is getting like the volume up here, especially if people look at their hair.
So having that top section have a little overlay. So disconnecting the top layers and creating shorter on the interior is going to give us that push. I think of it's a very modern, if you guys remember Paulitchell from Friends, okay, so everybody wanted that haircut, but really this is a long version of that haircut. And we do shorter versions and longer versions. On my shorter hair guests, like let's say my bob guest, I'm creating more of a square graduation in the nape area and a layer on top. And it gives it that push and pull. So a lot of our guests, they come in and they say, oh, I need volume, so I need layers. You don't always necessarily need layering for volume. A lot of times you need graduation underneath and layering on top to get that volume. So just coaching your guests on the best possible options and remembering is that short hair pushes long. So wherever you want that long hair to lift and be elevated, we have to create some short underneath to give it structure and almost like a backbone underneath it.
I love the point about raising your elevation in that disconnected piece, raising and lowering it.
Yeah. So wherever we want to disconnect, the farther we pull that section away from the disconnect, the softer it's going to fall. So it will have the appearance of a disconnection. Another great example of that is if you guys look at our tea tree brand, our tea tree collection, there's a haircut called the Fernanda haircut. Takashi did that one, and he does a beautiful disconnected concave layer. So it's a round layer, it's shorter in the front, longer in the back, but it's disconnected, but it shows that the higher you lift the elevation away, the more blended it's going to be. Christy, you do have a lot of hair, but this neuro dry is magic. What dryers are you guys using in the salon right now?
The Neuro and the Express Ion and the new Neuro.
The new Neuro. Okay, so the Neuro Light or the Neuro Grip? Grip, okay. We have, at iStyle, we have our design centers. Each design center is outfitted with a different blow dryer and a different iron. And that's just so that we have every option for each different type of texture. You know, for Christy's hair, I'm definitely an original Neuro Dry fan because it's going to power through her hair really fast and it's going to polish her hair.
Is that because of the wattage or the power of the look, like how strong it's going?
That's a good question. So in your Neuro tools, you have a SmartSense microchip, right? And it's in every single one of your Neuro tools. And in the blow dryers, that SmartSense microchip does a few things for us. Number one, it gives us the power of our blow dryer. Number two, it has gives us our clean filter indicator, so it tells us when we need to clean our filter. And then we also have, let's see, what else is in this dryer? So we have our 2-year warranty, we have our SmartSense microchip, we also have tourmaline ions. So the tourmaline ions in your Neuro Dry is what's giving you the polish of the hair. So tourmaline is a precious gemstone. When the dryer first came out, I was like, what the heck is tourmaline?
I Googled it too.
Yeah, dude, like, I'm such a Google fan. I Google everything. Like anytime we have a new ingredient come out in a product, I'm like, oh, I gotta Google this. So I Googled tourmaline. Tourmaline is a precious gemstone. So if you think of the polish of a gemstone, that's what it's doing to the hair. It's polishing the hair. And it's drying it dryer as well. So you can control the amount of power that you have with your guests, the heat and airflow.
If you give that explanation to a guest, how simple would you keep that?
So like how much in detail do I go in with guests? Okay. So with our guests, I feel like it's our job to recognize with our conversation with them what they get excited about, right? So even if we're thinking of products, if I know that my guest is environmentally conscious and she cares about the ingredients in her products, I'm going to lead her in the direction of tea tree because it's an environmentally conscious brand, right? So it's 100% carbon neutral. You plant a tree with every product purchased. So I know that she's going to have an emotional connection with that brand. The same thing goes with tools. So I'm going to ask her about her lifestyle. How often is she actually blow drying her hair? How much hair does she have? Does she blow dry her hair at home? Does she blow dry at the gym? Is she on the road for work all the time? So I'm finding out about her lifestyle and what will be exciting for her. So you may even get a conversation from your guest that, oh, I got this blow dryer and a week later it burnt out. Well, guess what? Our Neuro tools have a 2-year warranty and they have meticulous craftsmanship, quality control testing, so you know that your tool is going to last you longer and it's going to have a lifetime of benefits for you. And if for any reason something